Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A week and a half ago, almost every member of this council and hundreds of people from across Alexandria gathered in Market Square to celebrate Pride Month. There was ice cream and story time and a bike ride and businesses and nonprofit groups running informational booths. It was a much larger celebration than the one we held last year. The weather was perfect, the crowd was large, and the mood was joyous. It was an oasis of calm and support in a tumultuous moment for the LGBTQ community. Last year, more anti-LGBTQ bills were filed in state legislatures across the country than in any legislative session in American history. Unfortunately, this year, that record has been exceeded. More than 520 bills have been filed in state legislatures to undercut the rights of LGBTQ people and reverse the gains we've made in the last decade. Amongst these bills were laws that would ban gender-affirming care for trans people, laws that would allow teachers to refer to trans students by the wrong names or pronouns, laws that would endanger children by outing them to unsupportive parents, and even laws that would make it illegal to discuss anything about LGBTQ people in schools. Bigotry towards, bullying against, and the erasure of LGBTQ people have become central planks of the platform of the far-right legislators and activists across America. It's a scary time to be LGBTQ in America, which is why it is so essential that places like Alexandria, where we hold fast to true American values like acceptance and inclusion, must hold our light up high so that those trapped in dark places can see that a brighter future and a better life is possible. That's why it is so important for us to hold our Pride event in Market Square this year, why it was so meaningful for us to issue the proclamation we presented earlier this evening, and why I'm bringing a memo to the council tonight to start the process of creating a permanent Pride art display on King Street. A few months ago, members of the Human Rights Commission came to me to express their dismay that the city staff had declined their request to place rainbow crosswalks at King Street and Washington Street. We all received a memo explaining the rationale behind this decision last spring. Undeterred, the members of the commission came to me with a different option, integrating Pride-themed artwork into the streetscape of the 100 block of King Street, where the pedestrian court now is. We also discussed the rationale behind opposing the original proposed crosswalks, which might make sense on paper, but hasn't really been borne out in reality. More than 100 cities across the world have installed rainbow crosswalks, including Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Albuquerque, and even Alexandria's very own suburb of Washington, D.C. There is no evidence that such crosswalks have resulted in a reduction of pedestrian safety. In fact, research done by Namood Khan of our Office of Human Rights found that several studies indicate that brightly colored rainbow crosswalks in heavy pedestrian areas might actually improve driver awareness and pedestrian safety. In recent weeks, I spoke to most of you about this issue and presented two notions. First, Pride artwork in the 100 block of King Street pedestrian court, and second, Pride crosswalks at the 300 block of King Street in front of City Hall, which is already a high pedestrian traffic area with low vehicle speeds. I appreciate that everyone I spoke to was open to these concepts. There's a pretty clear preference for the more traditional crosswalk approach, in part because of the complexity of adding yet another component to the 100 block of King Street project. I've taken that feedback I've received and incorporated it into this final memo. The final version of the memo asks the city manager to do three things: to report back to council, to work with staff to report back to council by October or November of this year on the feasibility of completing Pride artwork elements on the Plaza at 100 block of King Street or the 300 block of King Street crosswalks before next June, so that the council can make a determination on which project to pursue. To have staff coordinate with the Human Rights Commission, the LGBTQ+ Task Force, and the Commission for the Arts to develop recommendations for the council to consider for Pride artwork in the chosen location, including ways such a project could involve local artists, and work with the relevant departments of the city to implement the approved artwork before the city's June 2024 Pride celebration. While I believe the crosswalks in front of City Hall are likely to be the preferred approach for us to take here, I want to give the council the opportunity to make a decision on this, informed by staff's input. I thank you for your support as I've discussed this with you individually. I hope that you will join me in endorsing the request of the city manager in this memo so that by the start of Pride next year, such an installation can be completed and Alexandria can shine our light a bit brighter and celebrate Pride a bit prouder.